Genesis chapter number 6, verse number 5 and verse number 12. The Bible said, "And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually." Verse 12, "And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth." There's a thought today that God is somewhere way off yonder in the cosmos, and He's too busy to be interested in me. There's a thought that God is so far off and so far away that He does not know, nor does He understand what I'm doing even right now. And all of that is a lie. Many in our day and time are living along the same lines of when the cat's away, the mice play. We've seen it and it happens. But no matter how dark it gets nor far away that you go, I want you to know that there's no way that you're going to be able to get away from God. I mean, if you think that you can, if you believe that you can actually just get away from God so that God would leave you alone, I got news for you. Go look up Jonah and ask Jonah the question. And Jonah would tell you this morning that I tried with all of my might to escape the presence of God, but I was unable to do so. The psalmist said this, I believe in Psalms 139, he said, if I make my abode in heaven or my bed in hell, he said, you're there. I got news for you. I was talking to a preacher this morning, young preacher this morning, and we were sharing thoughts, and he said something that I never had thought about. He said, God is omnipresent in that He is everywhere at all times. The devil is not omnipresent. He's able to send his little imps and nymphs, and I believe that he sent some down into Fort Payne, Alabama to try to stir some stink. But there's some things in this world that's more important, and I want you to know that the devil, I believe, has sent maybe demons, but I don't believe, my friend, that he himself is involved in this matter. But I want you to know that the God of all glory is. He's omnipresent. He's here. He knows what's going on. And we need to realize this. And the people of our town need to realize that there is an old spiritual that has been sung many times. There's an all-seeing eye watching you, watching you. Oh, that song ought to come and hold our hearts this morning to realize that there is the eyes of God that are focused on us right now. He don't send a saint to walk around and watch over us as some would tend to believe. But my friend, He Himself, by way of the Holy Spirit of God, watches us. Continually, He knows me better than a book. He knows me inside and out. In Matthew's writings, Matthew said that He knows every time that a sparrow falls to the ground. He knows the number of the hairs upon your head. Hadn't spent much time with Fred lately, I can tell. But my friend, He knows every time a sparrow falls to the ground. Knows every hair. They're numbered upon your head. He knows about you. And there's an all-seeing eye that is watching. It's watching you right now. He watches you when you do what you ain't supposed to be doing. He watches you when you're saying some things that you just ought not to be saying. He watches you when you're critical against the church and its leadership. He watches you as you speak against your brother. My friend, there is a God in heaven this morning that's got your number. You can hide a lot from the preacher and a lot from the church, a lot from your spouse, but you got nothing hid from God this morning. When Adam and Eve were in the garden, they tried their best to flee from the presence of the Lord. But God knew where they were at. Jonah tried to flee from the presence of the Lord, yet God knew where he was at. And my friend, you may be trying your best knowing what God's will is in your life. But you may be trying this morning to just get so far away from God that God will eventually just leave you alone. Got news for you. You don't want God to leave you alone. If God was to remove His hand of protection off of you, my friend, you know how quick you'd last? You want to see it again? I mean, it would happen that fast. Before a finger could snap, before an eye could blink, my friend, if God were to take His hand of protection off of you, He's got your eye on you this morning, and He's watching. It's not just the big things that God watches. God is concerned with the little bitty things that are in your life. Prove it to me, Pastor. Well, I'm going to try to this morning. If you'll turn to the book of Luke, I just want to show you that God is concerned with the little things. Luke chapter number 21. And verse number 1, the Bible said, and he looked up and saw the rich man casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in hither 2 mites. And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast in unto the offering of God. But she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she'd had. See, it was just a little thing that this lady had, but listen, the master had his eyes on what she had given that day. Now, I'm not preaching about money. Now, I'm not talking about money, but I'm talking about self. Listen, we need to examine. So many times at the close of the day or the close of the week, I sit back and I want to be honest with you. I give myself an examination and I pray many times and say, God, where have I failed you at this week? What have I failed to do? Who have I failed to speak to? Where have I failed to go? Oh, my friend, it's a dangerous thing to be entrusted with what I and you are entrusted with and do nothing with it. The Bible said, to whom much is given, much shall be required. There's a judgment day coming one day. And I want you to know that God's got His eyes on every one of us. Oh.